we're back. We're back for the new year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, February.
Happy New Year, happy February. Yeah, so we're going to start off with some shorter format videos, answering direct questions. First question we got was 3 things we wish we knew or prioritised or did during those first 2 years of training. I'll let you take the lead, mate.
Yeah, I thought you would. I was going to do the same. First thing that comes to mind for me is not overtrain.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that came to mind. I trained around 5 to 6 sessions a week, straight off the bat, and I wish I'd probably dialed it back to 3 and probably hit that sweet spot for me. I trained weekly up until I burnt out or got injured.
Yeah.
And then reset again. And then kind of just trained.
Did you notice anything through burnout?
Infections, injuries, mental fatigue. So I probably just took the foot off the gas a little bit. That would be the first one for me.
To be fair, for me, I'm going to try and avoid saying the same points you say. Starting from my feet from earlier.
That's a good one.
So, not necessarily learning to wrestle, but it's like learning to engage, learning to clinch, and learning to close the distance from my feet. And then using that to then go into the strategy that I want for my play. So, if I'm going to play guard, I don't want to be sitting down halfway across the mat and scooting forward. I want to be able to get hold of them, engage, pull into my guard and attack, or close the distance, put hands on them and try and take them down, as opposed to learning quite late into my sort of jiu-jitsu career how to wrestle, how to engage in the feet.
Yeah.
It just made it a bit difficult to actually start again, because you feel that you're learning a new skill set again. And being a beginner is not fun, so it kind of made that journey a little bit harder in the beginning.
Yeah. A second one for me would be, maybe a controversial one, would be sparring less.
Okay.
So that would obviously tie into not training as much. Definitely felt like this looking back, the sparring rounds were taking a few lives off me.
Yeah.
And because that's kind of what you do in jiu-jitsu class, you spar to whatever level like the instructor or the session is. So for example, if the session's like 10 rounds, I was doing 10 rounds and maybe sticking around for a couple more, when I ideally should have probably assessed how I'm feeling on that day and just gone like, I probably got 5 in it, if that, or maybe just go in and not spar at all and do some technique and save myself for the next session, really.
Go dive a little bit deeper into that one. Any particular reason for that? Because I can see quite a few people disagreeing with that. So I just understand, interested in your reasoning for it.
Yeah, I think you're going to be surviving a lot of your rounds at white belt, aren't you, when you're starting out?
Yeah.
And I think there's obviously a certain amount that you need to spar to battle test your skills, definitely. But there comes a point where you're fighting.
Yeah.
You're just fighting like for positions. And I think there's a point where I was technically, I think, better than probably most white belts from a rugby background, kind of the way that I moved. But I was fighting a lot of rounds against higher belts.
Yeah.
And kind of smashing my body, really, which has cost me now, looking back. So asking yourself how much better are you getting from doing, an open mat, rather than saying, you know what, it's a Tuesday, I could take a couple of days off, refresh myself, maybe speak to the coaches, ask them what technical things I should maybe look at, and come in fresher for the next session, instead of just being like, I'll do 10 rounds and chug a monster and fucking, I'll feel better, but you're actually not getting better.
Yeah. I hear that.
There's a lot of sessions where I did that and went in and passed people's guard and held them down, or they smashed me. There is an element of that that's needed, but I think overdoing it is not really helping anyone, really.
one thing I'll add to that as well, it is difficult to find that balance in it.
Yeah.
So if you are at that point, like, don't be afraid to chop and change and keep messing with the formula until you find the one that works for you as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my second point is actually probably going to piggyback a little bit on the back of that one.
Yeah. Copycat.
That's it. Shit, I can't get my own ideas. Fight the desire to win every round.
Yeah.
And
That's a great point.
Start figuring out how to learn in the round. Now everyone will learn like differently during rounds, like from round to round and person to person.
Yeah.
But going into rounds with an objective of maybe something like spending less time in bottom side control or looking for a set number of sweeps from a certain position, trying to get a set amount of pin time against the opponent that's notoriously hard to pin. Like having those mini goals within the rounds as opposed to having to win the entire round. For me, it's like a very, very important like thing to learn, and you will progress a hell of a lot faster once you figure that out.
Yeah, I'd say that as well. That the quicker that you can drop your ego and play the B side in the round.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like I said, you're fighting, aren't you, a white belt when you start. So my belief's always been if you're playing against someone that's better than you, go slower.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be reacting anyway. So why go faster? They're going to be in front of you.
Yeah.
In the attacking cycle and defensive cycle. So yeah, 3 things I would do is one of them, which I did anyway, but go slower and be more methodical, not trying to win because you ain't gonna win. Let's be honest. So you may as well download the data.
Change the perspective of the win, doesn't it?
Yeah, get as much as you can. Not fighting rounds trying to beat a purple or brown belt that's been training twice as long as you.
That's it. Yeah. You ain't gonna end up in a bad situation.
It's not smart, is it?
It's like if you change the perspective of a winner, oh, I got tapped out 10 times. It's like, oh, actually, if you got tapped out 10 times that round, but you got tapped 15 times last time with them, then 10 taps is actually a win because you're progressing and getting better.
And that's a good thing to bring up, I think, because when I roll with white belts now, if like I only tap them once, they think they've done a good round, but they haven't done fuck all. They've just played defensive and kind of we're not playing the game. And I could do that as a brown belt. I can say like, nah, fuck you, I'm not giving you my arm. I'll just stay tight. So I think when you are going through the belts, I think getting tapped a lot of times can be better.
Yeah.
Because you're playing Jiu Jitsu, you're putting yourself in deeper positions where I think a lot of people in the early stages think, oh, I've been tapped 5 times, so that's a bad thing. Well, I disagree actually because you put yourself in those deeper positions, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. And it's like, it's not to say like you go from 10 taps to 1 tap, but you've completely shut down, not given the opportunities. More like if you say they've been catching that armbar 5 times in the round and you keep getting caught with it, but you're making those changes and making improvements to then go, okay, I'm getting caught with the armbar less by this person. So you're still putting yourself out there and you're getting like a scalable way of progress that way.
Yeah. It's pointless rolling with a higher belt and you just hold on and squeeze and defend for 4 minutes, 59 seconds and then go, oh yes, 5 minutes is up.
Put yourself in risky positions, like, because the more you're willing to do that with a higher belt, the more they're going to give you as well. So they're going to see that, okay, they're giving me something. I'm going to let them get a bit deeper into the arm because I'm starting to trust them more.
Yeah.
And I know that I can move with them in this way. Or I might get them deeper into position so I can work on my escapes because they're opening up their game to me as well, so we can actually have a decent exchange.
Yeah.
Like your third and final point?
I'm not quite sure. I think for me, nothing really strikes out there for me.
I mean, I've got one that I think some might disagree with, and I think some may agree with. Well, especially in the first 2 years, like find a submission or a position and become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So
Simplify things.
yeah, so like if you really love taking the back and strangling people, and that's your like, you can feel yourself getting better at it, and that's what you enjoy playing. Figure out as many different pathways as you can get to the back
Together.
2 years. Yeah. Figure out all the nuances for your back attacks. If it's playing guard, go down the guard rabbit hole. If it's attacking arms, go down that rabbit hole and like become obsessed. Like a really good example is Lewis. His head and arm attacks. He went down that rabbit hole and like, I'm sure you felt it. I feel it all the time. His head and arm attacks and his chokes now are very dangerous. And for the past 2 years, he's just been down that rabbit hole and researching, making adjustments, applying, doing the rounds, and then going back home again, making adjustments. And anyone in the gym will like recognize that he's probably one of the top guys that's the style of attack at the moment.
So would you kind of say less is more?
Yeah. Sort of like have a bit more of a narrowed focus. So like, because you can then start to learn the concepts a little bit easier and the understanding of a submission. So then when you apply that same level of research to other areas, you've already done the hard work on something that you enjoy. So then it's going to be easier to apply the same principles and sort of tricks, let's say, to learning the other things that may become secondary in your enjoyment, or you find them later on as your understanding develops.
Yeah. So less is more. Something I would tag on for my last one would be, simplify your game a lot more. See a lot of content watching and chop and changing the technique and not actually nailing down, some basics that work for them.
Yeah. If you made it this far, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, drop a comment below with any questions you want us to answer, and make sure you stay tuned for the next video.